what if we were to ask, like, what is the conclusion here? Can any so, there's no conclusion here, right?
Right.
All right. So what does many mean, Sumatra?
Many means it means 51.
No,
to
that's most.
Dang it.
Yeah, no, you're okay. So these simple words like this is why we miss questions on here, because we might not realize that we're picking a strong answer choice. But
Okay, more than one.
Many means many things. So it means at least one, which I say, like, we don't really know what many means because many can mean whatever, right? But it's mild, where some is at least one, most is at least 50%. So most starts with MO. So I like to think of most more than 50%. So some at least one, most more than 50%, many means many things. We don't really know. All right, so we say many successful graphic designers began their careers after years of formal training. So at least one of these designers began their careers after years of formal training. Although a significant number learned their trade more informally on the job. So far, what do we know, Ronley, based on these two sentences?
That graphic designers began their careers after years of formal training, and a significant number learned that they trade more informally on the job, that they learn their trade more informally on the job.
Yeah, so we have successful graphic designers, and all we know about them is some of them have it. So essentially we know nothing after this, right? Some of them, just kidding. We have some that have years of formal training, and then we have others that have informal training.
Hey, Nicole, I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
Question. The difference between some and many, what was that?
Many means at least one as well, but if some and many were both used in the same sentence, many would be a little bit stronger. So I say many means many things we don't really know, and just consider it mild.
All right, thank you.
But if it's on its own like this, at least one, because many, or maybe at least two, because many is more than one, or like just think of it as mild.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So all we know so far is we have these successful graphic designers, and some of them had formal training and some of them just learned informally on the job. But no designer ever became successful who ignored the wishes of a client. So what does this mean, Shanice?
Basically, if they do their own thing, like they don't listen to their client or their wishes. Basically, the designer does their own.
Okay, but no designer ever became successful who ignored the wishes of their client. So what happens if they are successful?
That means they listen to their client.
Excellent. That means they listened. What happens if they're not successful?
They didn't listen to their client.
Oh, does that mean that? Is that true?
We don't.
I mean, it says ever became successful who ignored the wishes of a client. So I think.
Right. Okay. So no, this is a great point. So if they don't listen, I'm kind of tricking you here, Ronley. If they don't listen to their clients, what do we know?
They're not successful.
They're not successful. But does not being successful guarantee that they didn't listen to their clients?
Oh.
No. Couldn't there be other ways that made them, like, maybe they listen to their clients, they're just not a good designer. But like they tried, they thought they knew you wanted this whatever design for your piece, but they're just not good at it. So what can we predict here? What do we know about all of these graphic designers that we mentioned in the first sentence?
They have formal training?
No, we know that some had formal training, and we know some had informal training. But what do we know about all of these ones?
They had training.
Yeah, they had training. Yeah, they had training. What else do we know about them?
The client, right?
What? They listened to their client. Yeah. Why do we know that they all listened to their clients?
Because they were successful.
Because they were successful. Excellent. Do you see how we have to pay attention to all these details before we even get to the answer choices? But now let's go down to these answer choices and walk through them once together. So A, all graphic designers who are unsuccessful have ignored the wishes of a client. So this is what Ronley, we kind of made the mistake earlier of, but is A true? That all
No.
graphic designers are unsuccessful? No, because they could be unsuccessful for a different reason.
Right.
That doesn't mean they didn't listen. All right, B.
Isn't all not-
All is that's too strong too.
Oh yeah, all. That, look how strong that is. So strong. I read that, I'm like, nope.
All in the stimulus for us to be able to choose that, right?
Yep. So the time that you could pick a strong, you can pick an answer choice that is as strong.
Mhm.
So they said all. So if they had an answer choice that said all successful designers listen to the wishes of their client, that could be a correct answer,
Right.
because it matches the strength of our stimulus. Okay. B, not all formally trained graphic designers ignore clients' wishes. So what does not all mean?
Is it like some at least
One.
one?
At least one, right?
Yeah.
At least one. But is it true that at least one formally trained graphic designer ignored the client's wishes? Why does that have to be true?
Because some of them don't actually have formal training, right?
What?
Not all actually have formal training.
Okay, so it's saying not all formally trained graphic designers ignore clients' wishes. So that means that at least, so if not all formally trained graphic designers ignore clients' wishes, what does that mean at least one has to do?
Listen.
Listen. And do we know that at least one formally trained graphic designer listens to the client's wishes?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Sumatra.
Because they were successful.
From that first part of the first sentence.
Yes, because we have these successful graphic designers, and we know that there's this comes back to this many and at least one, right? We know there's at least one formally trained that was successful, and we know there's at least one that was informally trained that was successful. And what has to be true of both of those ones? That they listened. So it can't be true that all formally trained graphic designers ignored clients' wishes, right? It has to be true that not all. Do we see that?
Yeah.
All right, so I want you all to go through C, D, and E and write down why it's wrong. What makes it wrong?
Do you want the answer in the chat or just write it down?
Just write it down, it's fine. All right, Tori, why is C wrong?
I said C was wrong because I don't think this was. I was gonna say it was like it's unsupported because it says the more attentive, and it just basically said like in the last sentence that the ones who were successful listen to their clients, and this one's talking about attentiveness, and so I felt like that's not exactly discussed in the stimulus.
Yeah, so we haven't covered this yet, but this is what we call a relative statement, where we're saying the more attentive one is, the more likely it is to be successful, where our conclusion is an absolute statement where we're just saying, hey, If you don't listen to your clients, you can't be successful. We don't anywhere say the more likely you are to do this, the more successful you become. There's no relativeness in that. You know, like there's no correlation going on anywhere in our stimulus, right? That supports this. But I bet a lot of people assume C and they pick C.
Yeah, I was definitely one of them.
It's a flaw. So relative versus absolute.
Yeah, we're going to cover that. It's called relative versus absolute. I slowly introduce flaws as we go, but I will point them out when I see them. Yeah, that's relative versus absolute, where we're going from something that's absolute and trying to make it relative, which is like saying, like, just because we all are, say we're all in this class and I'm the tallest, that doesn't make me tall, right? We all could be really, really, really short. All right. So D, no graphic designers who learn their trade on the job will ignore clients' wishes. Why is this one wrong? Tatiana?
Well, I said it was wrong because of the word no graphic. So I relayed that to like not even one graphic designer.
Yeah, it's too strong. We don't know that there's none of them will learn their trade on the job. There could be. We have no idea. We don't know. And then Ray, why is E wrong?
E is wrong just because a typical wrong answer choice is something that says like the most, the worst.
It's so strong.
Yeah, and then also just it's not implied by the stem. It doesn't have to be true that because you know, clearly you don't have to, you know, you can have formal training basically. The opposite of that.
Excellent. All right.